Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. I don't know if you guys are going to notice, but I'm a little congested. I'm trying to figure out, am I getting sick or is it just allergies because spring is upon us? So either way, we got to get an episode out and we got to talk about, the business of being a personal trainer, the career of being a personal trainer. And so we have an episode today. Today we're going to be covering some of the problems that we have when we are new trainers. Now, you may already notice this. You may not know this yet. These are not all the problems that we have when we're new, but I definitely think these three problems that we're going to talk about today are important for you to be aware of for a couple of reasons. One, you might just realize, okay, what I'm going through is normal. But two, you may realize, oh, maybe this is what's happening. I didn't even think about it, right? So either you are going to feel comforted and realize, okay, maybe I'm not off, or you are going to realize something that you need to start working on. Either way, the whole point is to be able to notice it and do something about it. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, is what actions can I take on the information that I'm getting. That's what we're talking about today. So the problem when you are new. And really, the way this episode came about is I was going to talk about, keeping clients long-term. Why do clients maybe not continue with you? And, you can think about it that way as well, right? Why are clients not training with you long-term? But I also realized, hey, some of these problems that you run into with keeping clients long-term, they may stem from even the inability to get clients to begin with, right? So think about today's topics as they may be keeping you back from signing people up, but even if you have people signed up, people may stop training with you long-term when your clients realize some of these things about you, okay? So once they start to realize this about you, they may start to reconsider their decision to train with you, right? And sometimes, like I said, it may happen even early on. So this is what's important about what we're talking about today. Before we get into it, I have some questions that I've gotten that I'm going to get into in the next few episodes. But I figured, this is important to talk about. But if you guys sent in your questions and you haven't heard them answered, just know that I got them, okay? They're a little bit backed up right now. But we're getting to them, so keep listening. In the next episodes, I will start knocking those out for you. So let's get back to today. Number one, right? What's a problem that you have when you are new to training? Number one, and this has to do with your training itself. Maybe I should have mentioned that earlier, but this is actually an episode where we're going to talk about things about your training that are affecting your career, okay? So today we're blending kind of the idea of your actual training with how it's going to affect the sales and business side of your training, especially when you're new. But even if you've been training for a little while, if you still haven't succeeded, maybe this is why. So number one of the big problems that I see with new trainers, and this is normal, but the problem is you don't know where you are going with your plan. Most new trainers don't have a plan for their clients. Most new trainers, because you are new, you don't know if you can even do the thing you claim to say you can do. And that shows, right? It shows in many different ways. Sometimes it shows in your lack of putting together a comprehensive program. So when a more experienced trainer, or even sometimes the clients themselves have some experience in the gym or around health and fitness, what happens is people begin to notice that your exercise program is not an exercise program. You have the exercise part down, but you don't have the program part down. And that is a very important part of this whole equation. Most personal trainers, most certifications, most educational services out there are talking about your fitness program, your health program, your strength training program. The issue when you're a new trainer is that usually you don't know what that second part means. What most new trainers begin to do is to slap together exercises. You just begin to slap together anything that makes that person feel the muscles, anything that makes that person sweat a little bit, anything that looks cool and is dynamic or interesting, something that looks very creative, and we begin to fall into this thinking that as a trainer, your job is to kick people's butts and make it fun. And you're forgetting all the other parts that also come along with that, because it's not to say that having fun and pushing people isn't part of the equation. It is, but listen to what I said. It's part of the equation. We're still missing a lot of other elements in that equation. And most personal trainers, when we're new, because we don't have that experience, we begin to fall into just putting plans together that don't make sense or are not leading towards somewhere better in the future. For example, a lot of coaches, we don't know how to teach technique, or we're not even emphasizing the need to understand technique and proper patterns and compound movements, right? Your basic 7, the squats, lunges, hinges, pushing, pulling, gait, and rotation, right? The main 7 primary compound movements that every trainer should be incorporating into their program. We're not doing that, right? We're not even putting that together, and we're starting off our programs with burpees and bicep curls. And so, again, nothing wrong with those exercises, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is that when you're new, you don't know what you need to be setting in motion for your client to be able to continue to work with you long term, right? So what happens is, if all you do is work them out, eventually the client may, not always, because some people just want a coach for accountability and things like that. There's many reasons why people want trainers. I'm just giving you another thing to think about, because this may be what's ailing you. Maybe you have fun. Maybe you believe you have great, fun, exciting workouts, and you still don't understand why people don't sign up with you or why people don't continue to train with you long term. The reason why is because you are not showing them that they are progressing in their movements and in their strength, their repetitions, their rest time, right? You're not measuring things. If you have a client and all they do is show up and you slap a workout together, that's not measurable. And so what happens is, if for whatever reason this client is struggling to keep muscle or is struggling to show on the scale progress, or their body fat hasn't changed very much, since all you're doing is measuring their weight or their body fat, you may miss all the other things that could have kept them engaged, right? If they would have noticed that they went from squatting halfway down to all the way down, if they would have noticed that their knee was moving and wobbling when they were lunging, and now you show them that now they're stable in their knee, those elements of progress would have helped that person understand that their program is making sense, that it is moving them forward, even when some of the other measurements may not be there. Again, of course, you want the weight loss to be there. You want the body fat to drop. You want the strength gains to be there. You want the musculature to be there, of course. But again, we're talking about being a new trainer. And sometimes when you're new, you're still trying to figure out how to get the best results possible for people. It's going to take a while. And so what happens is we begin, like I said, to just slap together a workout. And, again, this isn't that you're doing something necessarily wrong. I'm just letting you know that that tends to happen when you're new. And if you are doing that, know that you want to begin to grow out of that eventually as you get more experience, as you begin to understand, fitness and programming, and as you dive further and further into your career. What I need you to realize in order to fix this problem is that you need to think more along the lines of programming, of linear progression, of pointing out the things in their exercises that are improving from day to day, that are leading somewhere, right? You got to think most of your clients if you're training the average population, most of them cannot and should not do barbell training on their first day. Most of them should not be on a 5x5 rep plan, right? 5 sets of 5 reps for power. These are more advanced techniques. These are more advanced concepts. If you don't understand what I'm saying, then realize that there's more that you need to be putting together and understanding in fitness routines, and really begin to understand the progress and progression of exercise. One of the things that I teach my trainers, and I'll try to describe it to you here, just so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about when I talk about, putting plans together that are leading somewhere. What I usually talk about is this line of progression, right? This line of progression is just imagine there's a line, and it goes on forever to the left, and it goes on forever to the right, right? We'll make the right the front as we're moving forward, and the left going backwards, right? So now I want you to imagine that in the middle, there is a line that is coming down and cutting that line in half, right? So you have the left, the right, and now there's a random line in the middle. What I want you to imagine is that this line in the middle is representing a person's ability to perform an exercise with correct technique, right? So they have mastery of a movement. When you think about exercise this way, you'll realize that most of your clients either sit on the left side where their movement, they cannot understand, and they haven't mastered their squat, their deadlift, their bench press, whatever the exercise is, right? First, you have to understand what good technique is, and then you have to judge your person to see if their technique is even good. If it is not, then you have to begin wherever they are on this timeline, as far back and far away as they are from even performing good technique. You begin to move them towards better technique. Now, once they have mastery of a technique, then you can do the progressive overloading stuff that comes forward. This is where people now are training with barbells. This is where they're putting together very intense and interesting programs, right? The gains in their movements come from their ability to load and their ability to challenge the movements that have already been mastered. This is where most of the fitness world lives, but most people are somewhere in this timeline of progress, and that's all I wanted you to think about when you imagine this timeline of progress is, where are they in their exercise? Are they a beginner? Are they intermediate? Are they advanced? And how are you moving them from beginner to intermediate to advanced, right? Why am I making this point? When you think about fitness in a progressive way, right, it's progressing. You need to be making them better at movement, better at recovery, better at cardiovascular endurance, better at strength, better at patterns, better at balance, better at mobility, better at stability, right? When you begin to think in those ways, this is what's going to happen. You can now take that creativity, now you can take that fun that you bring to your workouts, and implement it in a way that they are going to now be able to see that they are progressing. And this is the last point I wanted to make. They will begin to continue their training plans because they want to know what comes next. So when you think about your fitness in a progressive way, right, when you are progressing over time, the person wants to see, now that I got better at doing this, what comes next month? How far will we be in 6 months? They begin to believe in your program because they've seen how much better they've gotten in different areas, not only in their weight loss, not only in their strength, not only in their body fat, but overall, they know that you have tools to continue to move them further and further down the line of their fitness. And because we don't think about their fitness that way, eventually people may start to think, well, if all we're doing is burpees and mountain climbers, maybe I should join a class, right? Because that class is cheaper and we're doing all the same things, right? Maybe I should start working out at home online because that is cheaper, it saves me time, and it's all the same exercises. So the importance of you actually programming for somebody is you actually tailor making an exercise plan that takes into account who they are and puts together exercises that you believe are going to begin to move them forward taking into account everything that is them, their move, pointing out where they're tight, pointing out where they're flexible, pointing out where they're strong, pointing out where they're not as strong, right? When you point out things about them and you communicate to them the tools that you're going to use, the program that you're putting together, the reasons why you're putting these exercises together, right? Because this is about communicating to them what you are doing for them. That's the importance of moving slowly over time away from just slapping exercise together and actually beginning to think about what it is that you did, with what purpose, with what reason you did it for them. And to tie it all together, you want to learn to communicate that to them so that they can see that you really see them, that you really hear them, that you really are thinking about them, that you really are choosing these exercises for them. And if you can begin to do that, you're not only going to be better at converting prospects into clients, but you're also going to be better at keeping clients long term. Clients are not dumb. I always say this, you have to respect everyone. You have to respect the customer. The customer isn't dumb. And even if they believed you in the beginning, they're not going to believe you long term. They are going to start to figure out that you're just making it up, right? And again, it doesn't mean that all your people are going to stop training with you. A lot of people love having a trainer. A lot of people love having the accountability. A lot of people love the one-on-one setting. A lot of people love having a coach to hang out with, right? They love somebody just pushing them. So it's not to say that I'm not saying at all that just slapping workouts together and kicking people's butts isn't a success formula. It can work. I'm just trying to add another tool. Let's say you already know how to push somebody. Let's say you already know how to use your personality. Let's say you can still make it better by actually programming and putting plans together for them that are actually individualized, because almost every personal trainer on their website or on their Instagram, everybody claims, oh, I'm doing a personalized plan. It's a one-on-one plan. But really, we're not personalizing it, especially when we're new, okay? So if you're not doing that, begin to think about it that way. There's going to be a lot of long-term benefits in your career if you begin to think that way. And if you already are, then keep going, keep improving in that. It's going to help you stand out from most trainers that are out there. Most trainers phone it in and just put somebody through a workout, whenever. And it's not to say you don't have your days. Everyone, even when you program, you have certain days. Maybe you didn't sleep that well, whatever. It's hard to focus. You just kind of get through the session. I understand that. But at the end of the day, overall, you want to really think about what you're doing for that person and how you're actually helping them improve in different areas that matter to them. So number one, the problem that new trainers have, just to summarize it, is that we don't know where we're going. And that's reasonable. Okay, you're new. It's going to take you a while, but I hope that you can now understand what may be going on, why you're struggling. You're struggling because you're new, and experienced trainers, they've been there, they've done that, so they know, okay, yeah, you have a problem with this movement. This is how long it's going to take. This is your body fat. This is how long it's going to take, right? They have numbers and experience and information to back up what they're saying because they've done it longer. When you're new, it's hard to say to someone, it'll take us a month to fix a squat. It'll take us 2 months to drop this much body fat. It'll take us this many weeks to correct your posture, right? It's hard to predict when you're new. You haven't done it, okay? So pay attention while you're new. Start trying things. Start trying to program to the best of your abilities, even if it's not perfect, because over time, after a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that type of thinking, it's actually going to make you better. So number one problem is that. Number two, when you're new, second problem you probably have is that you don't have enough answers to people's situations. This is another thing that ails most new trainers. A person has a problem squatting. A person has a problem sitting up straight. When you're new, it's hard to have the tools and the answers necessary for the people that are looking to you as a professional. It's just part of the job. This is why you have to have a mindset of always learning, okay? Ego is the biggest problem that most people have in their life, okay? So I'm going to make it very broad. Thinking that we know everything when we don't is the absolute biggest problem that people have. Most people's problems have a very simple solution. The only reason that we don't have a solution to that problem is because we don't accept that we have a problem, or nobody points out to us that we have one, or even if they are kind enough to point out a problem to us, we reject it because our ego says, there's nothing for me to learn. I've already learned that. Whatever you're trying to share with me, I've already learned it. But the reality is, you should be grateful for anybody taking the time to point something out or to teach you something that you don't even realize you don't know. So, this is it's almost a redundant saying, but it's a very important and powerful thing to always keep in mind. You don't know what you don't know. And that's the problem. That's the issue at hand here. If I asked you, well, tell me what you don't know, it's a nearly impossible question to answer, because if you knew what you didn't know, you would have already looked for a solution to what you didn't know, wouldn't you? At least if you're a reasonable person. If you could tell me what you don't know, you could also then take the actions to acquire the information. So the problem is becoming aware of what you don't know in order to then begin to find the answers to what's going on, right? Or like whatever the problem is. So the problem here with being a new trainer is that you never know what question that potential customer is going to ask you. You never know what particular set of circumstances has brought them to look for help, right? Because it could be a combination of things. Somebody could want to lose weight, but they're 300 pounds and they use an oxygen tank. And that provides you now a new set of circumstances. Sure, you can say, I can help you lose 100 pounds. But have you ever dealt with someone that also wants to lose 100 pounds, but uses an oxygen tank and, cannot sit on a chair and they have to stand up the whole time, right? And I'm just making stuff up, but I'm just saying you begin to realize that every person gives you a unique set of circumstances and problems, and we tend to not have enough answers to those problems. I'll show you guys something just so simple. I may have already done an episode about this, but we'll see if you remember, or if I even did it. I'll look around. But anyway, I was coaching one of my trainers this week, and I brought this question up. I said, why is using good form important? And my trainer, just like you, because I'm going to pause and I'm going to give you guys just a second to answer that question, right? Why is good form important? I'm going to guess that you said safety, right? Good form is important to be safe. That's good. But this is now, I'm going to show you exactly why always looking for more information, always growing, always digging deeper to have more answers, right? Because if you said safety, you gave me a one-word answer that most people give. But have you thought about how good form is also important for efficiency of movement and efficiency of energy? Oh, see, there's more to it if you want it to be more well-rounded. If you want to be more well-rounded, you'll have more and more answers to different questions. And it helps you communicate to clients better, and it helps you stand out from the rest, and it helps you educate them more, and it helps them trust you more because you happen to be more knowledgeable than the rest. Here's another reason why form is important. It helps us track and measure progress. Without technique, there is nothing to measure. So now I have another answer for that individual should they have questions around form. Should they doubt that form is important, right? What that allows me to do is work with a variety of clients, no matter how experienced, because odds are most people have never thought about form beyond safety. But here's the problem. If you tell somebody it's safe, that customer may say, well, my Uncle Tom, he's been deadlifting for 50 years and he always rounds his back and he's never been injured. And now you've put yourself in a situation where your answer was not sufficient to that customer. This is why I'm always paranoid. This is why I come up with more answers than one to almost every situation. This is why I think deeply about what it is that's happening with their movement, with their fitness, with the principles that we're applying, right? So that's how I've come up with adding answers to it, right? What if somebody says, well, da 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 da, and they did it and they didn't get hurt? Well, like I said, it's a possibility, but also there's efficiency. Also, there is tracking progress. Also, there is blah, 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 right? Now, I'm not saying that that's a perfect answer. What I'm trying to illustrate to you is that you need to begin to look at things more deeply, have a deeper understanding of fitness concepts, of principles. Pay attention to the experiences that you're having with customers. Pay attention to the frequently asked questions that they have, right? One of my biggest pet peeves is knowing that someone's going to ask this question and us never preparing for it, right? I used to give this talk to my trainers years ago. I would say, how is it that you know, and I'm going to tell you guys the same thing right now. This is off subject, but again, just kind of drilling the point home. How is it that all of us know that the customers are going to say, let me think about it, and still have not come up with a solution to what you know they're going to say? If you know they're going to say, well, I think it's a lot of money right now, how is it that we haven't figured out a way to solve that problem? If we know that they're going to tell us, I got to talk to my spouse, give me a sec. If you know that they're going to say that, how is it that we have not prepared in anticipation when this is a frequently occurring thing, right? When you know what the question's going to be and when you know what the reaction's going to be, you should pay attention and prepare over time. That's how you gain mastery of your career, of your sales, of your business. Mastery is paying attention and over time, constantly constructing solutions to the problems so that they're no longer problems that you're dealing with, right? You can't be surprised every time somebody goes, well, let me think about it. This is the 100th time that it's happened. Maybe there's something wrong, either with your training, with your sales, with your rates, with your personality. Something is wrong. We need to fix it. So going back to not having enough answers, not having enough tools, when you're new, I know you think you have the tools. Most new trainers are the cockiest trainers. That's what's so funny about that. Even in business too, I run into this a lot. Usually, the younger you are in business, the more you think you know. Same thing with training. The younger you are in your training, the more you think you know. Almost all new trainers that I talk to have an air of, I'm a good trainer. I'm great. Oh man, this is for me. I'm passionate about this, right? New trainers tend to have this ego around their training, and what's unfortunate is when you're new, you actually are the worst that you'll ever be. You're probably just as good as I was when I was 1 year into it, right? 6 months into it. The problem is we don't know what we don't know. You don't even know what you're going to learn. So the best thing that you can do is always begin by thinking about learning. What can I learn from everyone? Instead of trying to tell people how to train, instead of deflecting or defending my position, I'm actually going to get further and faster if I take what other people are offering me, right? Because once you have that knowledge, no one can take it away. I always give this example. Let's say you have 5 trainers in your circle, right? Let's say you work at a gym or you follow 5 different trainers or whatever, right? But you have access to the knowledge of 5 different trainers. You can have the approach of, I'm as good and I'm a great trainer and I just watch what they do to judge them or whatever. Or you can take the best idea from each one of the 5. So I want you to think about this, right? Each trainer has one thing that they know, right? And all of them know one thing that's different. Trainer 1 knows this, trainer 2 knows this, trainer 3. All of them have one piece of incredible advice to give you. If you are smart enough to take one piece of advice from all 5, you will be, of all the trainers that we're talking about, right? You're the 6th one. Of the 6 trainers involved in this, you will be the only one with 5 powerful tools. All of them are still left with the one tool that they have. Trainer 1 has one tool and they haven't asked any questions. They haven't looked for answers. So they are, they're great at one thing. Trainer 2 is great at the second thing. But you, if you are smart, right? Because smart isn't knowing everything. Smart is collecting information from good places, from knowledgeable people. So if trainer number 1 can teach you how to do the thing that they do well, and then trainer 2 teaches you, you actually, in the aggregate, right, when you put it all together, you now are the one with the information. But here's the thing, the ego doesn't let us take that information from the person giving it to us. Something about somebody else knowing something we don't know bothers us. I don't know what it is, but it's programmed into our DNA. It bothers us to have somebody else give us advice. It bothers that somebody else knows something we don't know. It bothers us. But you can either function like most people or you can be unique, right? This is the differentiate. What you need to understand is that everyone has an ego. All trainers think they're good. All trainers think they're the best. All trainers think that they've already learned everything they need to learn. So if you know that that's how all trainers think, if you can manage to have enough self-control, self-discipline, and say, no matter how much I think I know, no matter how much it bothers me to take this advice, if I can be different than the rest and actually take it and implement it and test it out, I have an advantage over everyone else. And at the end of the day, the person that gives you the advice, they have their own life, okay? You guys take advice from me sometimes. I have no idea if you implement it or not. Guess what? It doesn't change my life at all. If you implement it or if you don't implement it, I'm going to my studio later. We're making some sales. I'm going out. I'm going to go top golf. I'm going to go bowling. I'm going to have some, Indian food tonight. I'm going to watch my favorite show. I'm going to live my life. And so what you need to realize is you need to put your ego aside, because the person giving it to you, they don't have the response that I think that our gut tells us, right? That they're going to somehow feel superior, or somehow we're telling them that they're better than us. The person does not care. Most people, when they give you a piece of advice, they're just trying to help. Whether you implement it or not, it's on you, and it's on you to gain the benefits of it, okay? If you don't, it doesn't change anything for the person that already possesses the knowledge, right? I can sit here and tell you guys, hey, these are the problems that I see with new trainers. I'm not a new trainer anymore, so what do I care? Right? I have my own business. I don't care. I'm saying this for you to implement it, for you to get some knowledge, hopefully to help you. It doesn't change anything for me. I'm trying to do it for you. This is where the ego is either going to help you or hurt you, right? There's an internal voice that's out to hurt us, and it's programmed into us, and that's the ego that's going to say, I don't know, though. I don't think that's right. I think I know better. And here's the thing. Maybe you do know better, but the only way you'll be certain is if you try. If you try somebody else's idea, if you analyze somebody else's idea and you say, okay, let me try and see how it works. Let me implement it, maybe combine it with an idea I had. And now you have an even better idea than whatever the original idea somebody gave you was, right? You take it one step further because you are an individual. You are going to have your own creative process. You're going to have your own problem-solving skills. You are going to have your own experiences. So you take all of that and you just add a little bit of new knowledge, and it makes for a wonderful recipe in your career. But number 2, just to kind of wrap up the point here, just remember, when you're new, there's no way that you have all the answers. When you're new, there's no way you have enough tools. And this is a never-ending process in a personal trainer's life. There are always tools. There's always information out there that you can be gathering. There are books on different program styles. Different countries have different styles that you can steal from and implement into your program, right? There are different ways of using different tools. There's different movement patterns. There's different rep ranges. There's different ways to load. There's different ways to, apply certain sets. How many sets do you do? There's different ways to split the week. There's different amounts of rest times that you can implement, and you can start to mix it all up and start to be a better trainer over time. Because the last thing you want to do, and this has happened, the last thing you want to do is be a trainer that is 5 years, 10 years into training, and be educated later on by a new trainer that's 1 year into it, and they're going to go, oh no, why are you squatting like that? Don't you know that the hip moves this way and the foot placement and da-da-da-da? And now you're going to be schooled 10 years from now by a trainer that's 1 year in, because the years don't matter. What matters is how much information you put into those years. So sure, you could be a trainer for 10 years, but there could be a trainer that's 1 year into it that has 10 times the knowledge you have, because every day they study. You study never. So whatever it took for them to learn in 1 year, it's going to take you 20, because you're not condensing time by cramming information into the time, right? I'm hoping that even these episodes that we do together are condensing time for you. Instead of you wondering a year, 2 years, 3 years from now why it is that you're struggling with your training, maybe in one of these episodes you'll hear something that goes, maybe that's it. Maybe I can change that. And we're saving time. Having information, you guys, is saving you time. It allows you to live a better life for a longer period of time. If you learn nothing, you might live 100 years for all we know, you guys. Can you imagine living 100 years only to learn what you could have learned today, to learn it when you're 90, right? Only to finally open up a book, only to finally listen to a lesson, only to finally take a course when you're 70, 80, 90, only to then figure out, shit, that's what I did wrong when I was 20, when I was 30, when I was 40, right? That's the importance of acquiring information. So it doesn't matter how smart you are. Think about this. There are scientists right now, some of the brightest people in our world. And you know what they do every day? They go to the lab and keep learning, keep trying, keep studying, keep putting, scientific plans together, right? They keep trying to figure new things out. They keep trying to educate themselves and educate the world by coming up with new discoveries. How do they discover something? Because they're looking for new information. And when they get it, they put it out to the world. So if even the brightest people in the world, their entire job is to continue to learn and to test and to try and to learn and to grow and to gather new information, how can the rest of us not benefit from doing a similar thing? I'm not saying you're going to read all day. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, do you at least have the intention and the awareness that as a coach, you should be learning. You should be acquiring new techniques. You should be reading new program books. You should be listening and following educated fitness people. The last thing I'll say here is, you guys be careful who you follow. A lot of trainers follow fitness influencers because they're ripped, because they have a lot of following, because they're good looking, because whatever. But those trainers, they don't always know what they're talking about. Follow people that teach you something technical, something important, where you look at it and you go, damn, I never thought about it like that. Or I love that exercise that they're doing. I could implement that with some of my clients, right? That's the type of following that the type of person you want to follow. People that have a certain education that they can give to you through their methods of, social media or whatever that they're doing, right? Books, following, whatever. But yeah, I see that a lot too. A lot of trainers, we don't realize, what's unfortunate is we don't even realize how good you could get to be as a coach, because we're functioning on this like average, everyday, famous celebrity trainer, when in reality, there are a lot of people that have taken this craft very seriously and can share a lot of important information that you can use to train an 18-year-old or an 80-year-old, to train somebody losing weight or to somebody to become a bodybuilder, right? Like whatever it is, you just need information, right? You should always be learning. I'm not saying every day is going to be an amazing lesson, but just like I said, a general understanding that you should be trying to learn something every day, every week, every month, right? Whatever is reasonable for you, just know that I need to have an open mind and learn. If you can do that, you're going to begin to move out of this struggling phase that you have where people don't sign up or people don't renew, right? You're struggling with your career. Even if you're a good salesperson, if your training sucks, if you're not learning, that could be affecting it as well. And that's what we're talking about today. The third thing that might be affecting you right now, right? The third thing that is a problem when you're new This is a very big problem with new trainers, and even trainers that have been training for a long time that don't make the leap. Not too long ago, I talked to a trainer. We did a Zoom call. It's one of the podcasts, but we were talking about how we worked with trainers that were at our first gyms, right? She got a job at a gym. I had gotten a job at a gym years ago, right? But we were just sharing the story. If you guys hear the episode, and we were talking about how there had been trainers there that had been there for 10 years, and they have never gotten promoted or gone on and done their own thing or anything like that. And so, they weren't growing in their career. And we kind of talked about this, but this is what I'm linking it to the third part here, right? This is what happens when you're not implementing number 3, and actually all of this. But the third point I wanted to make is that most trainers never transition into thinking like a business person, right? Problem number 3 that most new trainers have is that they never stop only thinking like a trainer, okay? So now I've gone over the importance of being a trainer, the importance of being a good trainer, the importance of learning to be a great trainer for over time, right? The importance of knowing what you don't know, the importance of understanding where you're going with these programs, right? That's all super important. But even then, there's another level that most trainers don't get to. And that is, you need to also stop thinking only as a trainer. I'm not saying stop thinking like a trainer, because I just went on for 40 minutes here telling you the importance of being a good trainer. But you can't only think of yourself as a trainer if you want to be successful. Now, it doesn't matter if you work at a company or you work for yourself. This is still the same rule. You cannot only think of yourself as a trainer. You need to think of yourself as more than a trainer, because that's another part where a lot of trainers struggle, is they think that fitness is the only thing that somebody's buying. That's a big problem. And that's a problem that we don't realize we're going to run into when we get certified. When we get certified, we're excited about the movements. We're excited about the reps. We're excited about, doing cables versus using a Bosu ball versus using, medicine balls, and how creative we can be and using the steps and da-da-da-da-da, right? We're consumed with the tools. We're consumed with the process. We're consumed with the program. We're consumed with the fitness, only to find out that everything that you've learned up until now is just the product that you sell. But now you have to figure out how to sell the product that you worked so hard to create, right? When you became a trainer, you created a product, right? You are a product. You as a trainer are a product. It's a service that you're giving, but you are a product. Now that you're in the real world, now that you got hired at a gym, or now that you want to start your own business, you realize that you also need to sell your product, that there are other elements that come with being a trainer that may also hinder you, right? Because that's the point that I want to talk about today. I don't want to forget the point. The point is, these are things that you may be running into that you don't realize are affecting people's signing up with you, right? People continuing to train with you. Because at the end of the day, that's what all these episodes are about. It's always how things impact your career, how they impact your sales, how they impact how many clients you have. And so I want to make sure that you realize that everything we talked about today, if you don't realize it and you don't begin to make the changes, this could be, I'm not saying it is, it could be reasons why people don't sign up with you or want to keep training with you, right? So one of the reasons we went over is people may realize that your plan is going nowhere, that it's just exercise. That may be one of the reasons why you're struggling. Another reason, number 2, was you don't have enough answers. Maybe they needed a coach to help them with something, and you just happen to not have the information. You don't have the tools. You don't have the answers. You don't have the information that person needed. And so you may lose somebody that way. That's why it's important to learn, right? That was point number 2. But now point number 3 is you may be struggling because you're not seeing the person that you're working with. You're only seeing the movements and the exercises. So a couple of things I wrote down here are, you got to think about the questions that person wants answered, right? It may be technical, but it may also be emotional. It may be mental, right? So now we're talking about seeing the person for who they are. That's another huge problem that a lot of trainers have when it comes to building their career when you're new, is we're so stuck on the fitness that we forget about the individual. And we don't think about ourselves beyond just exercise and creating programs. I need you to stop only thinking about being a trainer and think of yourself as a business. And when it comes to a business, you want to think of your sales. You want to think of your customer. You want to make sure that you are hearing and seeing and listening to that customer and providing answers and providing other tools and other elements of your service that address that person. And so a lot of times people struggle with selling their training, building their career, because they think that, and this is really the problem here, right? When you only think like a trainer, you think, well, I took them through a great workout. I showed them how to squat. I showed them how to fix their posture. I showed them how to foam roll and get rid of some of the pain. I showed them how to get more mobility in their hip, and they still didn't sign up. I gave them everything they wanted, but they didn't sign up. This is the third part. Because you only think that way, you forgot about the person. Maybe they had concerns about how long it was going to take. See, that has nothing to do with squats and flexibility. That has to do with their concern with time. Maybe you didn't answer the question that they had when they were concerned about how strict you were going to be with the nutrition. Maybe you didn't answer it, or maybe you answered it in a way that they weren't ready to hear, and you missed it because you're talking about fitness. You didn't see the concern that person had, right? People have concerns. Maybe they have a concern that they can't start because they're not experienced enough. Did you address the concern that they had when they thought, I'm not ready to have a trainer because I'm out of shape, right? A lot of people think that. It's kind of silly, but a lot of people are scared of trainers. So did you take the time to hear that person and address their fear of having a trainer, or their fear of signing up and not continuing, or their fear that you were going to take their favorite food away and they're not ready to give that up yet, right? So a lot of things. Maybe their fear of failure. Maybe they're afraid to start because they're afraid to fail, right? So again, when you only think about the fitness part, right? When you only think about like a coach, I'm a trainer, I'm a squats, deadlifts, squats, deadlifts, lunges, power. When you only think that way, you completely forget about the other elements that are important, right? These are the soft skills. I've talked about this in the past, right? Hard skills is what we focus on as a trainer. But to be a complete trainer, to be a good salesperson, to be able to run a business, to be able to sell and renew, you also need the soft skills, right? The soft skills are your interpersonal skills. That's what's going to complete this whole thing. Even if you manage to be a great trainer, right, meaning your exercise plans are great, if you're missing the part where you see that person, where you hear that person, when you make that person feel comfortable, when you take the time to talk to them, to explain to them, to answer their questions, to understand their concerns, to take into account their limitations, right? These are all things that a person as a human being brings, right? People bring trauma, people bring anxiety, right? So the more you can also begin to see that individual and connect with that individual and have answers, or at least conversations around the things that matter to them that have nothing to do with the squats and the lunges and the pushing and the pulling, right? These are different things that we're talking about. And a lot of us, when we're new trainers, we don't realize that we need both to be successful. We get stuck on, I'm going to call it the train, right? The training train. All we do is talk about the fitness, and we don't realize and are aware that we also need to consider how important this individual is, right? You need to, especially when you're new and you have the opportunity to work with someone, if you can come at it from a humility, right, where you are grateful for the opportunity to show them what you have, then you're going to respect that person. Then you're going to ask them questions. Then you're going to want to answer questions. You're going to want to give them a better service all around, because you're understanding that, like, hey, you're thinking about training. Thanks for the opportunity. Let me do my best here and show you that it's worth signing up. And a big part of that is not the training part. It is, of course, the training. But all I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that's the obvious part. That's it. That's all it is. It's the obvious part. And sometimes we don't even get that part right, which is the beginning of today's episode, right? It's we need to learn more. We need to ask questions. We need to get better at programming so that we even have that part right. But then even when we begin to get that part right with our fitness and our training, we also need to add the soft skills, the emotional, the concerns, right? The mental part that person brings. So now guess what? You could also pick up books on psychology. You can also pick up books on different traumas around, fitness, exercise, body image, right? You see how expansive the amount of knowledge that you could acquire, right? Again, you guys, you could be successful without thinking or applying or concerning yourself with any of these things, okay? I'm never somebody that claims to say, if you don't do this, it's not going to work. Of course it's going to work the way you're doing it. It's working already. If not, every trainer would consider all of these things, but most trainers don't, you guys. Most trainers get a certification, they work people out, and they get enough people that are into it that they built a business for themselves. Or they work at a gym and they're just good enough that people like it enough that they sign up. That's good enough, okay? So, but if you want to give yourself an even better chance, right, to make your life easier, right? Let's say you have 10 potential customers. Somebody that doesn't concern themselves with any of these things, maybe they get 3 out of the 10. The person that concerns themselves gets 6 out of the 10. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about do this to be successful, don't do this and you won't be successful. No, what I'm saying is do this and you'll make your life easier. Do all of these things, concern yourself with these things, and you become higher converting. That's all it is, where you don't need to swing as much, right? Think about it as baseball. The better you are, the more hits you'll get with your swings. Now, can you get away with just hitting every once in a while? Sure. Sure you can, but you're just going to have to play longer and you're going to have to swing more, right? That's all I'm doing. Again, for me, it's saving time and also increasing your growth potential. The more you understand this, the more you learn, the more you program, the more you take the emotions of the person seriously, right? Everything we've talked about today and everything we've talked about on this podcast, all it is to increase the potential of you growing, right? Let's say somebody comes into the gym that you work at and they have a very particular situation. Your manager now has to know that you are the one that has the answer. And now you got a client over everyone else because you happen to be special. You happen to be the one. Again, you could have missed that client just like everyone else. You'll get another one next week. You'll get another one next month. That doesn't matter. But you can't rely on getting clients from only this pool where everyone else is playing the same game. If you can get better and take everything we've talked about today seriously, you expand into other pools. You can now collect from senior people. Now you can collect from obese people. Now you can collect from people that are in certain groups, certain traumas that maybe people have, certain questions and concerns, right? Now you can go and you can grab clients from different pools because you've put yourself in a situation and that you can do that. You've put yourself in these circumstances where you're the one that can do that, and it gives you more earning potential, right? And I'll end today's episodes with this, right? For me, the only reason that I felt comfortable having a gym where I could bring on other trainers and I took on the responsibility of getting enough clients to fill the gym, is because of this. Always learning, always growing allows for me to not only have enough clients for me, but have a business where I have enough clients for others, right? It's a very unique situation to be in for most trainers. It comes from everything that I share with you guys in these episodes, right? So I'm giving you, so again, all I'm saying is you can be successful without applying the things we talk about. You can. I'm just coming at it from where I'm at, right? If you guys want to think about where I'm at, I get more clients than I can train. The only reason that happened is based on what I share with you guys. That's where I'm coming from, okay? But it's not to say there's trainers, like in LA, there's trainers in Santa Monica at the park. There's trainers at my local park training. I'm sure they're doing fine. They have their 5, 10, 15 clients. It's fine. It's great. But You're going to have an easier time if you're more well-educated, if you're more open-minded, if you're willing to learn from everyone, at least everyone that has something important to teach you, right? You can't learn from everyone unless it's what not to do, right? I think that's a quote that is, I guess they assign it to Abraham Lincoln, I believe. But his quote says, I learn from everyone. Man, I forget how it goes. But the whole point is, he says, everyone is my superior because I can learn something from them, right? And that was his mindset around learning. Everyone is my superior, meaning he respected everyone because he can learn something from everyone, even if it's what not to do, right? That's why having a learning mindset is completely different. Even when you see a trainer, you can go, okay, that trainer's been here for 5 years. They only have 5 clients. What are they doing? Oh, shit. They're always late. They don't do this. They don't care about their training. They're late. They don't program right. What is it that they're doing so that I can avoid doing that? So even then, you can have a learning mindset and learn what to not do. Learn how to not approach people, right? Maybe you have a trainer in your circle that's always trying to teach you something and make you feel like you're dumb. What you can learn is how to not talk to people once it's your turn to educate another trainer. You'll remember, I hated how that trainer spoke to me. Right? So I'm going to do it differently. That's man, a lot of you guys that I've talked to, and I appreciate everyone I've talked to. I appreciate you guys so much, but I appreciate that you guys have all kind of given me this feedback that I always wanted to, that was my intention, right? And that is just like, it's real. It's, it's kind of like digestible. It's exactly what we're going through, right? But for me, my passion around like teaching comes from how bad some of my teachers were to me, right? So what I said is anytime that I'm in a position, one day when I'm in the position to coach other people, I'll never be like them, right? Because some of the teachers would approach it as like, you're dumb because you don't remember. You're dumb because you don't know, right? They would get upset. They would talk to people like they were inferior. And I always thought, how could you be mad at someone because they don't know something or because they're having a hard time remembering? That's so wrong in my opinion. And what you're doing is you're turning them off completely to education and to learning and to approaching somebody that may have information, right? You turn them off. So I always thought when it's my turn one day to pass on anything that I know, I'm like, I'm going to try to be patient. I'm going to try to be detailed. And I'm going to try to remind the person learning from me, listening, that it's okay that they don't know. Because nobody's born knowing. I didn't know. You don't know. We all learn at different rates. We all have different strengths, different weaknesses. Maybe some of you guys, some episodes click, some other ones don't make sense. It doesn't matter. The whole point is that you're trying to learn, and that's something admirable. It's not so much how much you know, for me at least. What I admire is not what someone knows. What I admire is someone's willingness to want to learn. That is a powerful tool. And it'll go further than somebody that, thinks they know everything today, right? You just keep chipping away, think long term. And, even the most experienced trainer at your gym or that you follow on social media, you could surpass them one day if you keep on learning, you keep on working, you keep on growing. One day you can do all of it, So anyway, just side point, wrapping it up. I'm just kind of ranting at this point. That's what I do, you guys. You guys know this. Once I make the points, I just kind of start shooting from the hip, But anyway, thank you guys for listening. Those are the 3 things I wanted you guys to take away from today's episode, right? These are the 3 problems that I see when you're new to training. Number 1, you don't know where you're going. You don't have enough experience, right? Number 2, you don't have enough tools. You don't have enough answers to the problems that people are going to present you. And number 3, you're only thinking like a trainer. You're only thinking about the fitness. You're forgetting the person, the emotional part, right? The business part of it as well. So those are the 3 points. We're going to get into some Q&A episodes coming up. But if you guys have your own questions you want to send in, make sure you do that, personaltrainerhustle.com. It's going to be linked in the episode and also the about section of the podcast. But if you guys have any questions of, whatever you're going through in your career, you're a new trainer, you're thinking about becoming a trainer, I get a lot of those.
And I also get a lot of questions around business, starting your personal training business, right? But whatever it is, if you're a personal trainer and there's something you're struggling with, send in your question. I'll be glad to turn it into an episode. All right? I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.